Yeah.
Very early. When exactly that you take the Shahada?
Well, as we discussed, I started reading about it about 2 or 3 months after 9/11. So in December, I converted at the end of December.
What years?
In 2001.
2001.
Yeah.
So where is that you took the Shahada? Maybe in some masjid or it's like?
Actually, in where I grew up in Erie, Pennsylvania, there wasn't really any masjids. I read about Islam online and through books, but I had never met a Muslim. So I ended up giving Shahada in my own bedroom, just listening to, I listened to, there was no YouTube at the time.
So that means you took the Shahada on yourself, yeah?
Yeah.
Just alone, yeah?
Yeah, because there was no YouTube at the time, so there was, at the end of Islam Guide, they have like an MP3 file, and I listened to the Arabic Shahada many times, and I read what it meant in English. But after giving the Shahada in my bedroom by myself, I told some people I talked to online. I went to an Islam chat room and said, hey, I just became Muslim. It wasn't until maybe 4 or 5 months later that I met a Muslim, actually. So most of my beginning of Islam and everything was reading on my own, and there wasn't a masjid close to me, so I couldn't go to one.
So at the moment, you don't have any Muslim friends or just like?
Yeah, it was about maybe 10 months after I became Muslim that I was able to move to Virginia, which had many masjids and a much larger community. So it was after I moved there that I met a lot of Muslims, and I went to the masjid for classes every day and everything. There was an Islam chat room on like IRC that I found, and there was maybe 5 people from around the world. And I asked them some questions before converting, and then after I decided to do it, I told people online, and the first people I met were online. There was 2 brothers from Virginia. They invited me to Virginia, and that's how I ended up going there.
Okay, Brother Ali, what do you feel after you embracing to Islam, after you convert to Islam?
Yeah.
What do you feel?
The process from when I started reading about Islam, that first website I told you that I ever saw, until converting, was only about a week. It was around Christmas time, so there was no school. We had vacation. So I spent the whole day from morning till night just reading it. I was very curious. So when I finally made the decision, it was kind of a gradual process. And it was like every time that I would read something about Islam, I would stop and I would say, let me read something about Christianity. Because I wanted to see if Christianity was right, I would be a Christian. But if Islam was right, then I would choose to be Muslim.
Really?
So every time I'd read about Islam, I also tried to read about Christianity and see which one. Because a person naturally doesn't want to leave their religion. They feel more comfortable with what they grew up with. So to leave Christianity and join Islam, there was a feeling of uncomfort at first. But the more I read, every time I would read something new, I was convinced that this is the truth.
So Afwan,
Yeah.
at the moment, you find any contradiction or it's just?
For me, there was a contradiction between the early Christianity and what modern Christianity was. For me, I saw that the message of Jesus was corrupted by what the events after him. And one of the main things is seeing how Islam was the perfect answer without contradiction. How the original message of Jesus, and we see this through like a companion like Salman al-Farsi, who was a Christian scholar and found truth and accepted Muhammad as the prophet after Jesus. And it was through this journey of reading that consistently I would find one thing in Christianity that would make me doubt it more, but then I would find in Islam something that brought peace to the heart because you were sure it was the truth. And through that process, eventually I came to a point where in my own mind I'm like, okay, I already believe Islam is the truth. Why am I not Muslim yet? Well, hold on, wait, slow down. Let me read something else about Christianity. And then the next day I'd be like, come on, you know Islam is the truth. Why aren't you Muslim yet? And you have that doubt, like, let me give Christianity another chance. So as a Christian at the time, I did my best to stay a Christian. But you can't be sincere to God and stay Christian after learning the truth. So eventually it was at that point, maybe over 3 days, that I said, okay, I do believe in Islam in my heart, so let me just become Muslim. And that's when I found the website with the MP3 file and did the Shahada myself.
Okay. What about the response about your family and your close friends when you took embracing in Islam?
Actually, as we said, this was only 3 months after 9/11 happened. So I knew, as well as everybody, that this is kind of like a tough issue with people. I became Muslim, and I actually didn't tell anybody for a couple months because I wanted to read. I wanted some time for myself to learn more about Islam. It was about maybe 3 months after converting that I first told my parents, and it came up, over dinner because I was not eating pork by then. There was changes in my life that were starting to become more apparent, and at first it was a very tense situation in the family. A lot of people didn't understand, and nobody wanted to talk about it. Emotions were high after 9/11. I was gonna. Around this time, I had a couple more months left before I had to go to the basic training for the army, because I was in the military, and some of my family.
What years?
So I converted the last day of 2001, on December 31st.
December.
Yeah, and it wasn't until maybe March or April that I discussed with family and a couple of my friends that I became Muslim. There was a lot of them that thought okay, maybe this is a teenager just having a phase, something temporary.
Yeah.
So even some of my family had said, okay, when he goes to the military, they will fix him. They think he needs to be re-shown what the truth is or something. So some of them kind of just didn't talk about it. And I had to go to the military that summer. So it was that summer I went to the military, and I didn't see my family again until I graduated from my military training and came back. And it was at that time that a lot of my friends, some of my friends, they didn't want anything to do with me. Some of my family, and even till today, there's some that over time they became more accepting of it, but there's others that seem like they maybe never accepted it. So at that time, when I returned from the military, is when I left my hometown and decided to move to another city where there was a large Muslim community. That's when I moved from Erie to Virginia, but near Washington, D.C.
Washington.
Yeah.
Okay. Can they not call you a terrorist or something?
Well, some people did. There was friends and family alike that, especially the first time, before I went to the summer training at the military, I visited the community in Virginia for 1 week. And there was some family members who said, don't forget you're in the military, don't join Al-Qaeda while you're there. So they had some people were instantly thinking that if you're going to go and to a masjid or go and meet a Muslim community, they're afraid that there's going to always be some Al-Qaeda recruiter or something. So there was a perception, and mostly out of ignorance, people that don't know Islam, all they see is on the news. And then all of a sudden they hear their cousin or their nephew or their son becomes Muslim. They're thinking oh, I hope he doesn't join Al-Qaeda, because that's all they know about Islam.
Okay.
So some of them said, hey, don't forget you're in the military, you're an American, don't join Al-Qaeda or something. But all of my years of being Muslim, I've never once met anybody from Al-Qaeda. So this is misconception. They think as soon as you convert, there's a risk oh, he's going to become a terrorist. But it's actually the opposite of that. Before being Muslim, I was very patriotic. I joined the army, and I would kill people for the sake of my country. Because you're in the army, that's what you're trained to do, right? Kill people. But after becoming Muslim, you're taught, the value of life, and that you can only kill for certain reasons like self-defense. So actually, Islam is the opposite of terrorism. It teaches you the value of life and good morals. And so, there was a change in my life, and it took longer for certain people. But some in the family right away would realize, hey, he didn't become a terrorist, he actually became a better person over time. Yeah. Everybody sees that at their own pace. So maybe 1 year, 2 years, 3 years after being Muslim, different friends and family, they realize, hey, he's not a terrorist, hey, Islam didn't negatively affect him. So, over time, the relationships were hard between family when first converting. Me, myself, personally, I felt better than ever because you have a peace of heart, peace of mind that you have the truth and you're following God. The family, though, took some time to go through that stage where it was tense, and after a year or two, things got better again, alhamdulillah.
Okay, alhamdulillah. Okay, Ali, what about the situation right now about your family? What the response? Is any progress or yes?
Alhamdulillah, most of my family is better now. There's no issue. Sometimes you live far from family, so you're rare to see them. But I talk to my parents, especially every day, and they're fine. There are still some family members that have certain misconceptions, and only Allah can guide people. So you do your best to give a good example and explain. But there are some people from my past friends and my past family who still hold bad ideas, and you try to explain over time with them, but they have their own free will for when they will accept or not.
Oke, baiklah pemirsa, demikian tadi segmen kedua kali ini Kita akan melanjutkannya pada segmen ketiga nanti. Jadi tetaplah di Ketika Hidayah Menyapa.